That's quite an accomplishment, 100 years of service for any organization. And at that event, and I'm pretty sure our Councillor Fisher was not aware of it, but he did receive for the service that he's put in over the years. And at least the way they announced it that night, that's an award that is not handed out frivolously. So congratulations to that, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you.
One other thing, I got a call from the CAO last week, and he had a great suggestion. He suggested I give Lisa Thompson a call and talk about the OPP costing. And Brad had something to back it up, because our own funding always has been tied to helping cover the costs of policing in rural areas. So I took that information. I did have, I texted Lisa right away. She got back to me right away and said she was in a meeting, but she'd call me the very next morning, and she did. We had a good conversation. The very next day, she was going to be sitting in with, and I don't remember the name of the group, but some sort of finance group with the province that she was going to be involved with. And she said she appreciated the information I was able to share with her. And I do believe Lisa probably did have the conversation, because she got back to us yesterday or the day before. Anyway, she got back to me again, asking that Brad gather some actual data that we had over the last 2 or 3 years and get it forwarded to her. So she liked the argument that we made. Now, just to be fair, what I'll share is I didn't ask that they just pick up the cost, because if I had done that, at the end of the day, it wasn't going anywhere probably. I did state the fact that we did not create the problem that has put the burden on the municipality this time around. Said, I do understand that if the province hadn't done what they had done, we'd have paid a little bit more every year, but at least then we could have worked it into our budgets as time went on. So I said, if the province would see fit to pick up the difference during the 25 calendar year for the cost of the policing, and at least acknowledge the fact that, you know, we're doing this to give you more time to get things structured. That gives us a full year to work on next year's budget to try and see how we can work something out. And when I stated it that way, Lisa said, again, no promise, it was just for discussion purposes, that maybe there was something to, you know, even ease it out a little bit longer than that. So just from a discussion standpoint. So anyway, thanks to Brad. That was a very good suggestion, and hopefully Lisa has some headway. Okay, I need a motion to reopen this, or come out of closed, moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Morrison. All those in favor? And motion carries, and we would like to acknowledge that the land we stand upon today is the traditional territory of the Anishinaabe, the Haudenosaunee, and the Neutral Peoples. Reporting out. I should have done this reporting out already. Council went into closed session to discuss potential disposition of land in Brussels and personal matters about identifiable individuals. Can I get a mover and a seconder for confirmation of the agenda, please? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor Wilby, that the agenda for the regular meeting of council dated November 5th of 2024 be adopted as circulated. All those in favor? And motion carries. Is there any disclosure of pecuniary interest from any member of council this evening? Seeing none at this time, can I get a mover and a seconder for the minutes of the previous meeting, October 15th? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor McGrath, that the council of the municipality of Huron East approve the following council meeting minutes as circulated, and that's the regular meeting, October 15th, 2024. Are there any comments or questions on the minutes first? All those in favor? Motion carries. We do have a consent agenda that's got quite a few items listed on it. Is there anything that anybody would like to have pulled from the consent agenda at this time? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 8.2, I think, is the heritage one.
Yes, it is.
I would like that one pulled, please.
Okay, let's go ahead and deal with it right away. What would you like pulled?
I totally disagree with what the province is doing, that something has to be in the heritage registry already before you can I forget the phrasing of it, but it struck me as a way for the province to get around, some jurisdictions, so developers could have a free rein going forward.
I'm gonna ask for clarification because I thought we had asked this at one time and I thought we could move stuff in and out of that registry.
It's gotta be in
As
it for
council
90
felt.
days or it doesn't, that's what I thought I listened to, Mr. Mayor.
Okay.
So there might be some cases where we didn't know that a property had some heritage components to it and we would miss it, more so in the big cities, I imagine, but I'm a firm believer in keeping our heritage going.
So what is your recommendation or
Yeah,
request?
we agree with the letter from South Huron.
Okay. So, if we're not pulling any of these, my assumption, oh, I see, you want to send a letter of support? That's your request?
Whatever it involves, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, so that's, a motion moved by Councilor Fisher, second by Councilor Wilby, for a letter of support agreeing with, South Huron. Comments or questions? All those in favor? And motion carries. Is there any other item that, Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to pull and support 8.13, the Good Roads Association Establishment of Ontario Rural Road Safety Program.
Okay.
I'd like to support that, please.
Okay, so I have a motion to send a letter of support for that and second by Councilor Chartrand. Any questions on that? All those in favor? And motion carries. Is there? There's only one left after 813. Go ahead.
Oh, sorry, if I could I just wanted to speak to 8.1, basically just an update. Since I'm on that board, Francis Vignew, the president of Blue Water Recycling, is retiring. So they're gonna have a retirement party for him on December the 3rd. I'll maybe send the information to Jessica and maybe she can distribute it out. It's just to come and go at the Dark Horse. I think that's what winery down towards Exeter, is it? Anyway.
I think it's more by Grand Bend.
Okay, and so if anybody's interested, I think you have to RSVP, but certainly anybody's welcome to go. That's all you'll have to do, so.
I thank you for bringing that up. That did jog my memory. There was one other comment that I could have made. I saw a little incident, last Friday. Blue Water Recycling, was coming around to pick up my bins. And, he had emptied the garbage bin, but he couldn't release the garbage bin because on our nicely newly paved street, blew a hydraulic hose. Now, not only did it get on over the pavement, blew on the lawn, blew on the transformer there, but I'll tell you this, and you would please pass this on, to the staff. I was really impressed. The operator got out of the truck. He had a compartment where they, kept absorbent. He made sure he spread it all over the road. He kept moving it around and stuff. They called to get a repair truck out there. Now it's unfortunate, once it gets on pavement, it's on pavement, and, if not too much sunk in, I know it does evaporate over time. Hopefully it doesn't damage the road, but he did, in my opinion, everything he could to take care of the situation. So I was really impressed with how fast he operated. So kudos to them for sure. So, under the consent agenda, can I get a mover and a seconder for the rest of the items, please? Moved by Councilor Deal, second by Councilor Morrison. That the consent agenda items 8.1, through 8.14, excluding 8.2 and 8.13, be received for information and approved. All those in favor? Here we go. Public meetings, hearings and delegations, and 9.1, a presentation from Cinnamon Toast New Media Inc. Well,
Thank you. It's good to be here. This is potentially the largest council I've ever presented in front of, so I'm excited. Thank you, councilors and Mr. Mayor, for having me tonight. My name is Andrea, and I am the Director of Content here at Cinnamon Toast, which is the agency that was procured to deliver this project. On screen or virtually, you've got a couple of floating heads. We have both Sarah and Sabrina joining us. Sarah will be presenting some of these slides as well to speak on the visual pieces. So we'll go ahead and get started, as I hope you're eager. Oh, I need a pointer, sorry. That's my job, right?
Just point it towards, my
Middle?
computer area, yeah.
There we go, perfect. So we're gonna start by talking about what is a brand. So a brand is not just a logo, a product, or a service, but it's a person's emotional connection to your organization, your business, and your community. A good brand does a lot of things. Primarily, it captures attention, it tells a compelling story, and it forms those emotional connections. It helps differentiate your community, instill trust and consistency, and delivers value to create loyalty and ambassadorship amongst your residents in an ideal world. Our project objectives. So we have a few of them. I'm gonna read this screen because it's a little bit bigger. We were looking to develop a brand identity for Huron East that presents a cohesive and attractive image of your community and celebrates the heritage, agriculture, and innovation, helps distinguish Huron East from nearby communities, generates a sense of community pride amongst the community and the residents, attracts new residents to the community, showcases Huron East as an attractive tourist destination, positions Huron East as an ideal location for investment and business development, and then includes a versatile tagline for flexible use across various touch points. So heavy order there. Our stakeholder engagement findings, we didn't get here without engaging your community, of course, and some of the people who know it best. We're just gonna go over that a little bit. So we conducted a digital survey, 5 one-on-one interviews, and a 1-hour focus group discussion with Huron East between August 16th and August 26th, 2024. So the following is sort of a summary of what we heard and some of those key sentiments to let you know how we landed where we did. So participants highly valued Huron East agriculture, natural scenery, community spirit, and history and heritage. Time and time again, we heard variations of this throughout our conversations and the various pieces of engagement. So when asked to choose 3 words that best describe the ideal values of Huron East, the top responses included rural, community-focused, and quiet. People really loved the warmth of your community, the connectivity, and the hospitality, and that was something that was quick to be celebrated. Brand identity priorities. So the survey revealed a strong support for agriculture being reflected as sort of the primary piece in your brand identity. So 77% of people rated this as a top interest. History and heritage as well came in. And additionally, there was a strong desire for a brand to convey a warm and welcoming community spirit, which again, we just heard in that last slide too. Visual preferences for branding. So the most popular symbols when we got down to the more granular pieces that people wanted to see was either historic buildings or landmarks, rivers, fields, trees, barns, and grain, which align with the community's agricultural heritage and natural environment. When we conducted an exercise to get people to just tell us who is Huron East and who is not Huron East, we had some high contenders emerge. So when we asked people, who are you? We are bustling, evolving, proud, connected, resilient, welcoming, friendly, community-focused, rural, and scenic. So again, you're starting to see a bit of a trend here. A lot of people said we are not industrialized, trendy, overly modern, sustainable, spirited, and traditional. So those were kind of one piece of our exercise. And now we're going to go into the brand framework. So the brand framework is the written pieces of the brand. Again, knowing that a brand is not just a logo, there's a series of messages and storytelling that underpins the whole thing. These are the written pieces. So can I possibly get the little box moved for a second? Is that possible? So I can see what's said there on the left-hand side. Perfect. Thank you. That makes me a little bit easier. So the brand story, Huron East identity is deeply sown in agricultural heritage, where rolling crop fields and historic buildings reflect the dedication and care of past generations. With a strong sense of togetherness, residents celebrate the shared values of warmth and community that define the area. Huron East is not only a municipality where connections thrive and opportunities flourish, but an inviting space to sow your roots. Huron East's historic charm adds to its unique appeal. The Brussels Dam, a testament to local ingenuity, proudly reflects the area's resourcefulness, while Seaforth's train tracks have long been vital arteries for trade and connection. The Nastro's Royal Canadian Air Force Station, once a top secret military base, marks an intriguing chapter in Huron East's historical narrative. As the community evolves, it embraces growth opportunities while maintaining a small town allure. Positioned close to large urban centers like London and Kitchener-Waterloo, Huron East is poised for development. With a focus on enhancing local infrastructure and promoting its scenic beauty, Huron East offers opportunities to connect, celebrate, and cultivate a bountiful life. So that is the brand story. And for clarity, this would be something that you could use at the bottom of press releases, in your website content, to inspire social media posts, so on and so forth. Our brand promise, so what we're hoping to deliver, to offer a warm and welcoming environment where roots run deep, residents feel firmly planted in their community, and visitors and investors alike can enjoy the bounty of opportunities that consistently crop up. Your positioning statement, which could also be used as a bit of an elevator pitch. We have Huron East is a homegrown community that celebrates its heritage while cultivating a promising future. Enriched by residents who contribute to its welcoming atmosphere, the area is ripe with opportunities for residents, business owners, tourists, and investors alike. Here, a wholesome small town atmosphere allows connections to take root alongside pathways to success and fulfillment. Excellent recreational facilities and schools bolster the community, providing a solid foundation for growth. Business owners tap into a strong network of local support and resources and benefit from proximity to large urban centers. Tourists can immerse themselves in Huron East's picturesque landscapes and vibrant community events, sharing in the region's warmth and pride. Huron East represents a promising terrain for investment marked by a commitment to innovation and development. Huron East is planting the seeds for a future where everyone can thrive, making it not just a place to live, work, and visit, but a community that embraces growth and connection. The brand voice and tone. We will elaborate on this when we get to our brand guide so that you know how to actually implement this and what it sounds like beyond these statements that we've shared. But we're looking at a welcoming, authentic, confident, and optimistic tone based on the data that we collected during our stakeholder engagement findings. A tagline concept. So a potential tagline has been devised for Huron East based on community sentiments and aligned with the project's objectives. So for us, that tagline and the one we are recommending is Fields of Opportunity. So this tagline evokes Huron East's scenic rural landscape while emphasizing the municipality as a space poised for growth and development with opportunities for enrichment, fulfillment, connection, and personal growth. Huron East is a community offering something for everyone. Whether you're here for a short stay or a lifetime, you'll find a supportive environment to cultivate the best version of your life. And now, before I hand it over to Sarah to show the fun stuff, we are showing two logo concepts tonight. And the reason we're showing you two is because with the public vote, they were very neck and neck. So we wanted to give you the opportunity to see both, to discuss them out. So Sarah, I will hand it off to you if you want to unmute yourself.
Thank you, Andrea. Yes, so we're going to go through these two concepts. We'll have a rationale for each, and then as we go through, I'll do a little bit of talking for each visual piece, but ultimately we will leave some room for silence to allow you to really absorb the visuals. So starting with concept A, so this one received 47% of the public's vote. Okay, so encapsulating Huron East's identity in a warm and welcoming scene, this logo concept tells the story of a connected, homegrown community. The interweaving lines found throughout the design speak to the strong ties that root residents to their community, while depictions of natural elements like sun and trees evoke the scenic beauty of surrounding areas. A playful green and blue color palette suggests liveliness and vitality, while the earthy brown and yellow provide a grounding effect. The growing crops at the center of the design pay homage to Huron East's agricultural heritage, highlighting a part of its history and identity that continues to thrive today. A bell tower stands proudly above the scene, drawing inspiration from the historic buildings in Seaforth's downtown. Towards the bottom of the design, a representation of the flowing Maitland River communicates fluidity and adaptability, framing Huron East as a community welcoming growth and development. So without further ado, concept A. So it has a beautiful simplistic style with lines forming those connected pieces and those shapes reflective of your community. At the bottom here, we also have the supporting color palette. So then this would be your secondary logo version. So it's essentially just the logo in the vertical version. And on the left side, we've also provided it in a solid white because again, we always like to design with flexibility in mind. So there might be some cases where you don't need it in all color or you can't have it in all color. So we want to ensure that it's flexible. And then we have a few of the pieces together. So we have that primary horizontal piece, that secondary vertical one, and then you can also see a little bit on how the symbol can stand alone. And next we get into some applications. So here we have it on a photo. It's nice and bold. It stands out really, really well. And then this is where people tend to get really excited and they find they can take ownership of the potential logo when they see it in application. So here we have it on a mug and then an example of it on a toque. And then we have it mocked up on a potential sweatshirt. So again, really giving you an idea of how your brand can evolve and be used in the wild. On the left, we have some street banners, so you could potentially picture these lining your downtown core. And then on the right side, we have a fun tote bag. And then we have some examples in practice. So we always like to show how your logo will work alongside surrounding communities. We recognize that Brussels is part of Huron East, so it will likely be used alongside this logo. So you can see how it works with them and then also stand out from them. Okay, so concept B. So this one received 50% of the public's vote. So again, very neck and neck, very close. So leaning into organic and free-flowing shapes, this design conveys rolling crop fields expressing key values defining the community of Huron East, such as vibrancy, connection, and growth. An abstract wheel sits toward the bottom of the design, offering a unique interpretation of agricultural machinery. Youthful crops intertwine the wheel to create a sense of forward motion, while a cheerful sun rotates above, evoking warmth and simplicity. Rich coppers and greens call to mind a time of harvest and abundance. So this is the next concept. So very different style, much more free-flowing. Again, a very natural color palette that you can see at the bottom. And then here we have it in the secondary vertical version, and again in a solid color for that flexibility use. And then again, all those pieces together so you can get an idea of the whole package. And then like before we move into those application pieces, so starting with the use on a photo. And then moving into the mock-up, so the mug and the toque. A sweatshirt, nice and simple, very clean. And then the street banners and the tote bag. So a really beautiful piece altogether. And then again, the examples in practice. So seeing how it can work alongside and standing out from these neighboring logos.
Okay, thanks, Sarah. Really appreciate it. So now we're going to talk a little bit about logo evaluation criteria. We appreciate so much that these projects are very subjective and it can be really hard to put on other hats and step outside of your own personal opinion. So we gave some logo evaluation criteria to sort of help with that. So the first one is, do these concepts express the brand character, affinity, style, and personality? Do these concepts tell a story in an authentic and memorable way? Are these concepts unique, authentic, and original? Will these concepts inspire people to invest, relocate, visit, or even just learn more? So just some pieces to keep in mind as we kind of chat these over and discuss them out. So what we're looking for tonight is hopefully to decide between the A and B concept, with a reminder that A got 47% of the public's vote and B got 50%, and then to motion that tagline, fields of opportunity. So I will turn it over to this wonderful team for discussion, questions, so on and so forth.
Questions or comments from council? Not helpful. Go ahead, Jeff.
I'm probably not the right person to ask this, but I like the font in the first one better than in the second one, but I like the image in the second one better than the first, so I'm torn, really, so.
Go ahead, Ray.
I like, the one that caught my eye was A over B. It just, B seemed to be more round in circles, where A had the sun, but it was more
Yeah.
up and down.
Mhm.
So I kind of got lost in B, trying to understand what it symbolized for me personally.
Yeah, when I looked at A, I could pick out, there's town hall,
Yeah, yeah,
there's agriculture, there's natural.
exactly. I couldn't tell that from B at all.
Yeah,
Mhm.
the only thing that, caught me with A was, did you try with thinner lines?
Can we, or did we try
Did
it?
you try with thinner
Oh,
lines?
sure. Sarah, can you speak to that at all? And did you hear that question?
Yeah, yes, I did. Yeah, so we did actually play around quite a bit with the line thickness. We landed on this thickness because it's nice, thin, and clean, but also it reduces well. So you want to be mindful of the need to shrink down your logo size. And ultimately, if it gets really small and the lines are quite thin, you'll start to lose some of that polish in print and things like that for visibility.
Okay. Any other comments? They're still looking for direction.
We do have the final staff report too later on in the agenda where the official motion will be looking for.
Before we get there, does anybody have any more questions?
Did you want secret ballots?
Yeah, right. Okay, perfect. Well, happy to answer your questions that we did get and looking forward to hearing what we ended up landing on. So thank you very much for the opportunity to present and thank you, Sarah and Sabrina, for being here. Really appreciate it.
Thank you, Matt. Now you move to engineers report, Blue Water Municipal Drain. Oh, sorry, what am I missing here?
Brewer, municipal. I might have.
Brewer. Oh, no, you did, I read it wrong. Brewer Municipal Drain. Headway Engineer. I'm reading, when I'm talking faster, my eyes are going. Says Adam Hall and Stephen Burton.
Thank you. My name is Steve Berkman. Adam was in the back.
Welcome.
Thank you. Do I advance these slides or?
Yep, you, the right arrow.
Okay, okay. Well, no, thank you very much for this opportunity to present a couple of reports tonight, but the first one here is the Brewer Municipal Drain. We put together a notes package like we always do too, to kind of hit the high points of the report, just to keep things moving along and really hitting the key points. Jumping right into it, Headway Engineering, we were appointed under Section 78 of the Drainage Act, and that was on June 6th of 2023. And so Section 78 is to redo an existing municipal drain. Moving along, this project, it's located near Brussels, just kind of east of Brussels. The right-hand side of the photo shows an outline of Huron East, and the left-hand side shows a call-out showing the approximate watershed of this system. And the red line work shows the alignment of the drainage system too. The actual outlet goes right into Brussels eventually. A few public engagements took place. The first one was on September 27th of 2023, and that was an on-site meeting where we held a meeting to basically collect the information from the landowners and get a sense of what's actually required. And from there, we left that meeting and did our survey and did our design work and our cost estimating. And we presented all of this information at a public meeting held on July 18th of 2024. We also posted the information that's essentially in this report as well online on our website too, for those who weren't able to attend. But that was the meeting where we essentially presented the design and costs, etc. So moving into it. Actually, I should just mention, there's a little bit of history on this project too that I forgot to do a slide on. The existing drainage system, it's old. It was originally constructed in 1894 as an award drain. So it's a very, very old system, got a lot of history. In 1911, a full open ditch reconstruction was done all the way down to the Maitland River in Brussels. So that's 1911. In 1957, it was the first time that a branch drain, we're going to get into it in a second, but there was a branch drain added as well. In 1970, that branch drain was was replaced. So again, this is now 55 years ago, replaced or about that 54 years ago. And some open ditch work was done as well. In 1980 was the last drainage report for this project, where there was a clean out and a few new crossings constructed. Our findings are on the slide here, but basically the existing drain as it is right now, it's not deep enough. It's of insufficient depth, and because of that, some surrounding lands can't be tile drained into this system. It requires a lot of maintenance. It's a pretty flat system, and we noted a few times here when there was maintenance, 1992, 95, 97, 2011, and there's been more since then too. So it requires quite a bit of maintenance. And there's quite a few culverts on the system that are in poor condition. They're not long enough. They're not of adequate depth or capacity. And the other point too, second from the bottom, bedrock is shallow in several locations as well. And that has likely had an impact as to why the drain isn't as deep as what it was at the time. The last bullet on the page is referenced to the branch drain. And so that's a tile drainage system. It's got everything's wrong with it basically. It's in a poor condition. It's not deep enough and it's too small. So those three things come together, explain kind of why that's being addressed today. Moving forward. My clicker doesn't seem to be working there. Thank you. A few photos just to kind of connect what we have in our plans versus what's actually out there in the field. A few crossings here. So the left-hand side shows a crossing there. The right-hand side shows a different one. You can just see how much the water is backed up in this location. There. A few more crossings. The left-hand side, about that pipe, I think is about a quarter hole. What was taken. The right-hand side shows a culvert that's really not long enough. And on this, that was the second one. On the right-hand side, in that photo, you can just see the crown of the culvert. It's pretty much underwater. These are a few photos along the tile drainage system, the branch, and a few blowouts on the lower end of the system, basically. Those red circles highlight some tile outlets into the existing drain right now. So it kind of shows how shallow it is and how much the water is backed up. And there are 3 pipes there. So I circled them in red just to kind of highlight them because I don't think you can catch them without having the highlight there. What we're recommending is to do about 2.1 kilometers of ditch reconstruction to deepen that system. And I'm just going to type pages a bit. And the construction of a new tile drainage system for branch A. And also, in that tile drainage system would consist of a pipe designed to an 1.5-inch drainage coefficient design scenario. So that's an 1.5 inch of rainfall per 24-hour period. And then also several culverts as well. This is a plan in the report showing the watershed boundary. The green line represents the area where we're working on the open system. The orange line highlights the tile branch system as well. And then the cost of the project, about $500,000, $507,000 roughly is what we estimate the project to be. That cost estimate is made up of the categories listed above. So the allowances make up about 16% of the project. Construction makes up about 60%. Engineering time to prepare this report makes up about 14% of the project, and then some miscellaneous costs as well, including contract administration. So the bottom line estimate for the project, about $500,000. And I'm not supposed to get into assessment too much, but just at a very high level, municipal lands equate to about 13% of the project. Private non-agricultural, very minimal amount, about $1,600. And the bulk of the system, 87%, is for agricultural lands. So that's just a very high level look at the assessment and the breakdown. And these are just a few photos. I'm going to go through them real quick, but this is really essentially what we're proposing. So this is what a new crossing would look like with a gravel deck, with 1-to-1 side slopes with riprap and treatment. And the driving surface would be about 6 meters wide, a lot wider than what the current drains are too. or the current crossings. Open ditch work, this is a freshly cleaned out open ditch, substantially deepened actually in this photo. With some riprap around a bend and that sort of thing too. So, and then for the tile drain, this is just what it looks like when it's being constructed. Left-hand side shows the pipe installed in an open trench, and right-hand side shows it following construction. So that's the brewer drain. If there's any questions, that's.
Providing opportunity to landowners to make comments or questions. Any concerns related to the assessment can be addressed at the quarter revision. So for the landowners that may be in the gallery, are there any comments or questions that they would like to address at this time? No. Okay. Are there any questions at council at this time on the drain itself? Seeing none, then can I get a mover and a seconder for receiving the report? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Newell, that the council of the municipality of Huron East accept the engineer's report on the Brewer municipal drain and designate it as bylaw 89 of 2024. And that the quarter revision be set for December 3rd of 2024 at 4 p.m. And that Alvin McCullen, Diane Deal, and Ray Chartrand be appointed as members with Alvin McCullen acting as the chair. All those in favor? And motion carries. Great, thank you very much. Very expensive drain and not a lot of discussion. I did have one question, Brad. I know when we were doing budgeting going forward, I think we had thrown in a guesstimate of it was gonna be about $300,000 a year or whatever that we were kind of estimating for drainage.
On average, yes.
Yeah, so how does this affect us? Like,
It'll be one of those drains, so if we, I think he said 13%, so I was already calculating in my head what our portion would be.
yeah,
You're looking at about 50 grand, so it fits in, you know, with all the other that goes on each year. It depends when it gets, the work actually goes forward, what year it'll actually be expended, so hopefully it fits within 800,000.
okay. Thank you. Thank you very much. Next, engineers report, Holland Anderson Municipal Drain. Again, Stephen and Adam. Go ahead.
Okay, thank you. So this report, it's smaller than the brewer drain, and it's a lot simpler too. Same format, we prepared a bit of a notes package as well on this project too. So jumping right into this one, we were appointed under section 78 as well, similar to the brewer. And that was in January of this year, so about 9 or 10 months ago. When we finished the report, that is. And the location is just south of Brussels in this case, so not too far away from the last one. And on the left-hand side shows the call out. You'll see a much smaller watershed for this one. It's just a smaller system. Moving forward, an on-site meeting was held on April of 2024, where we met with the landowners to kind of get a sense of what was required. And we did our work following that meeting and presented that information at a public meeting that was on July 18th of 2024. And I don't think we got any members of the public attending that meeting actually, but we did post our information following that meeting. We did engage with some of the key landowners that were involved as well. I think there are only 3 landowners on the system, plus the little ones. There is a little bit of history on this one as well. 1894 was when this original system was constructed as well, the same year as the Burr. 1894, at that time, it was an open ditch along the north side of the road. So our work in this case is going to be along the south side, but we're running parallel to a road. In 1894, they constructed an open ditch along the north side of that road. In 1922, there was a tile system constructed along the south side, roughly around about half the length of our drain, and then crossing the road to the north and extending into Brussels. In 1958, the drain that we're constructing that we have proposed in our report right now is effectively a replacement for the 1958 drain. So a drainage system along the south side of the road, and just consistent with the pipe drain. In 1997, there was work done on the north side of the road for the existing system over there too. But again, our focus is all south. In this case, what we found is that the existing drainage system, it's over 60 years old, so it's old. The existing system is of insufficient size, depth, and capacity. So again, all three things. It's in poor condition, too small, and too shallow. There are blowouts along the alignment of the drain. And the last bullet here, the Holland-Anderson, the open portion of the Holland-Anderson drain is of sufficient outlet. So we do not need to do work on the open ditch, which is good. It's of sufficient outlet, sufficient size, everything like that. Couple photos showing this area. So picture on the left-hand side, right at the very top of the drain, there's some kind of structure that's completely filled in. We think it's a catch basin, but it's some sort of square structure. It looks an awful lot like a catch basin, but again, completely filled in with minerals. We put a little bit of a red box on there just to kind of highlight where that is. And then on the right-hand side shows an existing catch basin as well. On the right-hand side, you get a bit of a sense to the road water. There's really not a lot of ditching from the road. The road water from really spilled out onto the field, basically, in this location. So what we're trying to do too is try to put in a few inlets for the road to make sure that water doesn't spill out of the fields. There's a picture of the blowout, roughly halfway up the drainage system. It's there all the time. I think they repair it, it comes back. So, yeah. And then this is at the outlet where the system outlets into the open ditch. That pipe is broken off at the bank there. You can actually see water coming out of the bottom of the pipe at the bank. There's more water coming out there than out the end of the pipe, actually. What we're recommending, that's called a new construction of the drainage system south of the road. This system is designed to a 2-inch drainage coefficient. So the last one, the tile drain on the brewer drain that we just talked about was 1.5 inches. This one's a 2-inch drainage coefficient. And the reason for that is moving up to a 2-inch drainage coefficient was very, very, very affordable. It just kind of made sense. And I'll get into that in a second here too. And also we were recommending that no work, aside from some riprap at the outlet, no work be done in the open ditch. A plan showing the area of work. So again, the orange line, which is just parallel Cranbrook Road on the south side, highlights where our work is. And a few catch basins are popping off into the road ditch there. Same pictures as before. Going to jump forward a little bit. The construction estimate for this is $180,000. That estimate made up of the same categories above, but allowances 14% and construction about 60%. Those two combined make up about 3/4 of the project, which is fairly common. That's a pretty common ratio. Engineering to prepare the report about 14%. Environmental and contract administration, et cetera, makes up the rest. So about $183,000 for this project. A little bit of a snapshot of the assessment and how it's broken up. Municipal lands are equate to about 19% of the project. Private non-agricultural lands, so like separate lots and that sort of thing, 1%, and private agricultural grant, 80% of the project almost. There's that 2% non-grantable. That $3,780, that's the amount of cost it costs to increase the design standard from 1.5 inches to a 2. So that's why it went in the 2-inch direction and at the landowner's request as well. That portion is not grantable, the 3,000, but the rest of the project is. And just a few photos of some other construction, so what a catch basin would look like alongside a road, and finished product. So if there's any kind of questions on this project.
Are there any members of the gallery first that have any questions about this drainage project? Seeing none, Mr. Chartrand.
Yes, you said this is only on the south side of the road.
That's right.
It doesn't cross the road though, right?
No, not our drainage system.
So the reason why I asked, there's no road crossing, and try to understand why the municipality's portion is 19%, because usually we pay more when we're crossing a road. In this particular case, we're not crossing the road at all.
Yeah. So the reason is there are several catch basins. They're picking up the road water. The road is it's a fairly small watershed, and half the road, a bit more than half the road is in the system as well. The roads do contribute more just because they produce more runoff as well. So there's two things happening. Their portion of the watershed is larger relative to the overall watershed, even though it's a fairly small watershed, that makes the proportion higher. The other thing too is that there's benefit assessment to the road for collecting that water and getting it into a better legal outlet instead of having it discharge onto private property.
It's like we don't win, we always get charged when we cross the road. And in this particular case, we're not crossing the road, but we're still getting charged.
Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. Mr. Mayor. Yeah, Ray, Edley, or Councillor Chartrand touched on it a little bit. So this new tile, is it on municipal land or is it on the inside the line fence?
The municipal drain will be installed on private property
Okay,
with offset basins to the road.
to the road. Well, Ray touched on it. There are a number of houses along the north side of that road, and I just wondered as well if there's any sort of tiling across that Cranbrook Road that would tie into this.
Okay. So there is a drainage system along the north side of the road from 1997. It conveys all of the water from the north side, at least in the Brussels area and through that farm to the north. It conveys it all along the north side and outlets at the very top of the open ditch, about 5 meters up from the photo that you saw with the broken off pipe. So it outlets into the open ditch portion, not into this.
Into this.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Any other questions of council this time? Okay, seeing none. And I get a mover and a seconder, please. Councillor Newell and Councillor Morrison. That the council of the municipality of Huron East accept the engineer's report on the Holland Anderson municipal drain and designate it as bylaw 90 of 2024, and that the court of revision be set for December 3rd, 2024 at 4 p.m. and that Alvin McClellan, Diane Deal, and Ray Chartrand be appointed as members with Alvin McClellan acting as chair. All those in favor? And the motion carries. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
We are down to planning. Report, consent application C60 2024. Welcome, Shay.
All right, so yeah, consent application C16/2024. So the subject property here is 41313 Front Road, and the owner and applicant is John Turner. So the purpose of this application is for a minor lot enlargement. The severed land is approximately 1.1 acres of vacant land, and a proposed retained land will be approximately 100 acres of farmland, and also contains a house and a shed. The severed parcel will merge with the abutting property at 41323 Front Road, which is also owned by the applicant, and currently contains a small house. So just an aerial of the subject property here. So outlined in blue is the retained farm, red is the severed portion, and yellow will be the existing lot, which will be enlarged. So the severed land will surround the existing lot on 3 sides and will result in 1.4 acre parcel after merging. So just a couple site photos here. So on the left, we're looking south from Front Road. And this is showing the front of the existing small house on the property to be enlarged. And on the right is facing east towards the rear of that existing house. And I've just outlined in red the portion that will be merged with this property. So just looking at the review, the subject property is currently zoned AG1 and designated agriculture. The property to be enlarged is already zoned AG4. And the proposal meets the agricultural severance policies of the Huron East Special Plan and criteria for a minor lot addition. So the proposal will follow the existing tree line of the surrounding residence and serves to remove a minimal amount of productive land. The existing undersized AG4 parcel is approximately 0.3 acres in size currently. And this lot was created prior to development control, so it wasn't created through a consent application. Proposal will enlarge the property and correct deficiencies, provide adequate space for servicing and support to residents. It'll also provide enough space to establish a new private well on the property to be enlarged, as it currently shares a well with the house on the farmland. No impacts to the agricultural use of the retained lands, and no impacts to the surrounding agricultural uses, and no new lots are being created as part of this application. And no staff concerns or concerns from members of the public. So as the application is considered with the PPS, conforms with the Huron County and Huron special plans and complies with the Huron zoning bylaw, the application is recommended for approval with the recommended conditions.
Can I get a mover and a seconder for the report? Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by the Deputy Mayor. That the Council of the Municipality of Huron East acknowledge the report of Huron County Planner Shay Stahl dated November 5th of 2024 and has no objection to the consent application C60 of 2024, provided the conditions as outlined in the planning report are met. I had one question, Shay. I certainly have absolutely no problem with the expansion. It certainly makes sense to go over to the tree line and everything else. Was there another piece of property severed off this land in the past? Top left corner of the photograph looked like it had.
Sorry, should I start? There you go.
Yeah, so if I can go back, so that piece in the top left corner is the Turner Cemetery,
Oh.
not a residential property.
Well,
I'm not exactly.
Yeah.
To the car standard. I'm not exactly sure when that was severed, but yeah, different things.
Okay, all right, thank you. Are there any other questions on the motion as it is read? All those in favor? And motion carries, thank you. Next, planning report consent application C61 of 2024.
So this, yeah, consent application C61 2024. The subject property here is 40 London Road in Brucefield. The owner is Darcy Rathwell and the applicant is Monty Brown Planning Consultants. And Adam from Monty Brown is here in the gallery today. So the purpose of this application is for the creation of a private easement for water services over the subject land of the abutting parcels owned by Cal Ford. So that's 75836 London Road. The easement proposes to extend the municipal water main easement located on the subject property over the balance of the subject lands towards the north property line. And this is a condition of severance file C52 2023 to provide water services for the new lots associated with this previous application. So an aerial of the subject property here, subject property is outlined in blue. The green shaded area is the new proposed easement, and the yellow L-shaped box is the approximately the existing municipal easement for the water line there. And I've just pointed in that arrow is just showing the property to which the easement will be in favor of. A similar kind of sketch, just the applicant's consent drawing. So again, you can see the existing municipal water service easement in yellow. And then where the new proposed easement will start in pink there. Photo of the subject property here. So we're looking on the subject property facing north towards the Ford property. Kind of see there's a stake on the right-hand side by that maple tree. That's approximately where the new easement will go in. So as I mentioned, the applicant proposes an easement for private water services over the subject lands to service the newly created lots associated with the previous consent application C52 2023. So in discussion with municipal staff to work through conditions, the applicant was provided various options to connect to municipal water services. And the applicant's preferred option requires an extension of private water service through the subject property. Since it's a separate property, separate title, then a new application is required, and that's why there's kind of two separate applications. So needed to extend the private water line from the existing municipal service. to the northern limit of the subject property lot line. And then the owner of the abutting property at 75836 London Road will then be able to extend the water line north of the lot limits to the newly created lots. So just looking at a bit of the policy review, so the Huron East Special Plan requires development to connect to municipal water services where it's available. Since there's a municipal well within Brucefield and the properties within the urban settlement area, connection to municipal drinking water is required. So the proposed easement is required to fulfill the condition, this condition associated with the previous application. Couple of comments. So MTO was previously circulated on the related application, noted no concerns with this application. Huron East Public Works had no objections, just noted that all curb stops indicated on the water servicing plan, which was included in the report and the applicant's package, be installed as part of this application. And just note that beyond the curb stops, the water line will be a private water line, the responsibility of landowners. And that there should be some coordination of the installation of this water line to avoid multiple impacts. So as the application is consistent with the PPS, conforms with the county and Huron East Special Plan, and complies with the Huron East zoning bylaw, the application is recommended for approval with conditions. And available for questions on that.
Questions of council? I got a question for Barry. So Barry, is the curb stop on the first lot it gets to, or does the water line go to all the individual lots and then there's a curb stop at each lot?
There'll be two curb stops on, approximately, and help me out, Shay, they'll be on, just before they hit the property, at the property line, there'll be two curb stops. From there, it'll be a private water service to each of the, lots that are being created. And that's one way that we get around, extending an actual water main. Once you get into that program, you're into another bill of expense and procedure. So this just becomes simply two water services off the main that's existing on the Rockville property, I believe.
Okay. If there's no other questions of council, can I get a mover and a seconder for this, please? Moved by Councillor Dalton, second by Councillor McGrath, that the council of the municipality of Huron East acknowledge the report of Huron County Planner Shay Stahl dated November 5th of 2024. There is no objection to the consent application C61 of 2024, provided the conditions as outlined in the planning report are met. All those in favor? And motion carries. Thank you very much, Shay. Number 12, reports and recommendations of municipal officers, and the first one is the CAO with the Cranbrook unopened road allowance.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'll just kind of quickly go through the report. So, some members of council recall back in May 2021, the municipality declared portions of Victoria Street and Albert Street between Frederick and Kent line as surplus properties as part of residential development. The south half of Victoria Street was retained by the municipality, pending future development by the landowner himself. That landowner now is looking to obviously purchase that Victoria Street, that half of the road allowance to the north, but has also expressed interest in a portion of Kent line, sorry, of Frederick Street, pardon me, to the west of his property. In order to be able to do that, we would need to close up and declare surplus the portion of Frederick Street from Cranbrook all the way to Louise. And so you can refer to the figure in the report. That's kind of what the request is. The proponent actually was good to be able to go out to all the adjacent landowners, commercial landowners, and ask if they were interested. They all expressed interest in acquiring the portion of the line on Frederick Street. And so staff are supporting the declaration of this being surplus for what I believe I've got here is 3 reasons. Frederick Street is outside of the existing settlement area for Cranbrook, and any expansion of the settlement area would likely require the construction of these partial services, which are currently not within the Cranbrook settlement area. Frederick Street backs on to developed lands to the east, and if a developer was ever to develop to the west, somewhere down the road when we expand that settlement area, They would not likely want to consider that roadway because they would only be able to service residential lots from 1.5 of the street. They'd have to construct the street and only be able to service lots of one. And then, of course, the last one was, you would prefer to probably create a developer of the lands to the west, would likely probably want to create their own road network to suit the maximum development of lots. So as part of our communication policy, if council declares the surplus, we would put out notices to the various property owners. And then we would review those in consideration and then eventually bring back the sale process to council. I consulted with our operations manager, Huron County planner, and the drainage superintendent. They had no concerns. Based upon the fees and charge bylaw right now, if we did declare Frederick Street and Victoria collectively, as noted in my report, we would get about $54,000 worth of revenue. Happy to answer any questions from council.
Any questions of council? I understand the process we're going through and just asking something for clarification. When we declare surplus, we technically put it on the open market with the assumption that the only person that is interested in it is the person that is gonna buy the whole thing. Is,
Well, we have a sale and disposition of road allowance bylaw, so that the policy says that we will offer to all the adjacent landowners and then give them the opportunity to purchase whatever portions they want.
so.
We don't put it on the open market and say anybody can buy it, it's just dispose of it to the adjacent properties.
Is there, an opportunity for an adjacent landowner that doesn't actually want the land to speculate, purchase a chunk of it, and force the other person to come back and pay a higher price, since we've already got a set price? We're not opening it up for a bid. We have a set price because of the policy.
So the way it would be, we would basically, we sort of lead the process. So it goes through the whole process of figuring out what it would be. It's nice to know that everybody's pretty much interested, as long as there's no objection from any agency utility. We would basically start transferring those properties. They would actually merge with their parcels. They don't become these little pieces of parcels that they can put on the market. We merge them right into their existing lots. So it'd be extensions of their lots. So all those residential lots on the east side, right, yeah, they would all be joined and attached. And if parcel, the agricultural parcel on the west side wanted their half of Frederick Street, then that would be merging title of theirs. So they're great new parcels.
Deputy Mayor.
But through you to Brad, but Brad, there's no opportunity to say, like if it comes to figuring out the costs and stuff like that, and all of a sudden I decide that's too much for me. And then you buy the piece adjacent to it, and then, so you've got me landlocked in with it.
Well, we wouldn't probably, there's kind of different ways to look at it. So typically you try to get everybody on the same page. There could be a situation. Situation could be, let's just say, if I can refer to the figure, would that help? So let's just say the property owner, one of those ones that kind of long east-west tangent. Let's say the one on the south side decides he wants to buy it, but the one on the north doesn't want to buy it.
Yes.
Then, the option becomes, do you really want to have someone having an odd shaped parcel that goes in behind it? You could, that's an option. That's kind of why I wanted to make sure that all the property owners are interested in acquiring this before we move forward. So it really kind of is conditional upon everybody staying on board. That makes sense?
Yeah, oh yeah, for sure. And I figured that's what you're up to, but
Yeah.
sometimes when it comes down to the money aspect or whatever, all of a sudden, oh, no, I don't think I can afford that. And so then you have a vacant piece sitting there, that's orphaned more or less, so.
Yeah, we try not to work.
Councilor Deal.
The little weird shaped piece of property that is north of Louisa Street there, between Louisa and the river.
Yes.
Is that part of the proponent's land?
No, it would remain in the municipality's ownership. So that's another road allowance. We would keep all those pieces in our current.
Okay, so that field that runs along there?
Yeah.
Is municipal property?
It is. It's farmed obviously by whoever owns that parcel.
Pardon me?
It's farmed by that whoever owns that parcel, they just gotta farm our lands, but it isn't our ownership. That little stub that goes through.
Okay, I thought that piece of land was owned by the barn and the people that own the barn and stuff there.
They own the land parcels sort of adjacent to that road allowance, but they don't own the road allowance.
Okay, they're not gonna be landlocked or anything then?
No, because they can still get access through the existing road and Kent line, and then they can use the street to access anything.
Okay.
The road lines, which they do now.
Any other questions at this time? Get a mover and a seconder for this motion, please. Moved by Councilor Brown, second by Councilor Fisher, that the council of the municipality of Huron East declare the unopened road allowance listed as Frederick Street, Cranbrook Town Plot from Cranbrook Road North to the east-west unopened road allowance known as Louisa Street as surplus. All those in favor? And motion carries. And this one surprised me to see it come back. Seaport Fire Siren.
Never ending, eh? Yes, our fire chief, Arns is here. Just if there's any questions related to his side of the story. Again, they were traditionally used, I'll go through this again, to give notification back in the days when there weren't pagers and cell phones. The fire service here in Seaport was asked that they continue to use it because they thought it provides value in terms of notifying the community that there's a fire and fire trucks will be moving through the area. We did maintain the siren, just put a timer on it so that it wouldn't go off between 9 and 7 in the morning. And it's been functioning pretty well. Once it kind of got fired back up again though, a neighbor did complain, did reach out to myself through an email. It's recommended that they come to council as a delegation, give a bit of a history. They never did come as a request. They did obviously go, I believe, probably to the Ministry of the Environment, asking them to investigate. I did speak with the Ministry of Environment rep. They explained me the story. They seemed satisfied with my response, but they also went to Huron Public Health, and then they did do an investigation and some testing, and that information is provided in the report. And the testing is saying that it does create a risk in terms of the noise. So the recommendation from HPPH was that the siren be not stop being used effective immediately, and that council consider the possible next steps. They can do some more testing. I'll speak to these in a minute. They can explore the use of alternative notification device with a lower decibel limit, or they could rely upon the current system that we use, which is the cell phone notification process and pagers. You can do some additional testing. I don't think any testing is going to give you anything different. So I'm sure that's an option per se. So I'm just seeking council's direction as to what you would like staff to do based upon a request by Huron Public Health.
I'm not interested in spending money on more testing because I can't see how that's going to resolve. We already have information, either way. I do have a question, Jay. Have you had any conversation with the firemen about this? Because I'm gonna say, if you go back 10 months ago, the fire siren was an issue. But I think there was other issues, and that was one that it was really easy to point at, that you haven't taken care of this. This is a problem, it needs to get fixed. I guess I'm curious of if this conversation has come up with any of the firemen at this point, whether it's necessary or not to still have the siren, because I certainly did agree with the report. We have methods of communicating with the firemen that are a lot better now. I don't understand any sense in putting up a siren that's not as loud, because then it doesn't even get to the far end of town. What good is doing that to only get people in a small area? Go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, Mayor. So to date, no, I haven't had any conversations with any firefighters about this topic. I'd be in agreement with your thoughts on the siren working and not working, or downgrading. I think we've got some great systems in place now for dispatching firefighters. I think the original concept carried simply because of notifying the order. Firefighters getting to the hall and leaving the station and stuff. I think that we're at a point where those types of systems are antiquated and I think we need, that's my opinion. I think I'm probably gonna jump into a fire here, no pun intended, but I do feel you're on track.
Go ahead, Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. HPPH is your committee at county, isn't it?
Well, technically, we're autonomous
Okay.
from the county, but.
Were you part of the discussion on this at HPPH?
No, issues that they deal with, we deal with policy. We don't deal with their day-to-day working. So I was not aware of this until I read it in the report.
So, okay, many of us, I'm sure Councilor Chartron, McGrath, Steffler, and myself have been told by the firefighters they view it as a very important safety issue. Not when the trucks are leaving, but when they're getting there. Like a lot of people have no idea what a green flashing light means on a vehicle heading to the fire hall. So it's always been my understanding that the fire department, the members of the fire department wanted us to maintain the siren as a safety issue for them and for other people in the community. Does a comment or whatever by the HPPH, is it binding on us? You know, Mr. Mayor or Mr. CAO?
I'm gonna say it absolutely is, because the bottom line is, if it's outside of, what are considered allowable tolerances. But I thought I read in the report that sirens are exempt, or warning signs or something are exempt. Was I, am I wrong in that?
I don't remember seeing that.
Oh, I could be wrong in that, okay. But no,
I think if it was necessary, I think it might be, but since it's technically not necessary, it might be probably not.
okay, all right.
We'd have a hard time defending that, I guess.
Yeah. If my understanding is if you had an actual directive from the medical officer held through HPPH, you're obliged.
So even if you wave the safety flag or whatever?
But as it's pointed out, like, what is the safety flag? Like, if a fire truck or trucks are going up the road, everybody's supposed to have their driver's license and understand what you're supposed to do. What argument are we trying to make?
The safety of the firemen getting to the fire hall and letting the public know that there are going to be 8 to 12 vehicles getting to Birch Street as quick as they can.
I guess if we want to spend the time and the money, we can argue anything. I'm not convinced it'd be a good argument, but that's my opinion.
Okay.
Go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, kind of on the same line, like now that these residents have the results, the decibel readings, and they're getting the backing from them and saying it is an issue, they potentially would have litigation against us if we leave it running.
Status quo, let the thing blow, this is so stupid. It's a fire alarm that goes not every single day, not every 2 or 3 hours, and I understand. I mean, I could issue a report and they better come back with what I want the report to say, okay? Too loud disrupts my life, I'm sorry, but it's an issue for safety for the firemen. The firemen, for the most part, want it. Let it go. Just drop the subject. The other side of it is, and I agree, 7 at night till 8 in the morning or whatever, 9 at night till 7 in the morning. Perfect. That was a great idea. That's not disrupting anybody's evening. So I would gladly make the motion, we leave status quo as it is. And if they want to come back with some more theories and reports and safety devices and God knows what else. This is like, we've been arguing this fire siren for forever. So sorry if I'm a little upset about it, but at the end of the day, like I say, you know, 9 at night till 7 in the morning, you're not gonna get no woke out of your sleep. And I'm sure these people have listened to something a whole lot louder than a fire siren. A smoke detector, for example, would be have just as many decibels when you burn the toast in the kitchen. So that's my opinion, and for what it's worth, have a good day.
I would like to, comment two things
Okay.
before you put a motion on the floor about something. I couldn't believe it actually happened. Cook's Elevator, who was there long before the person next door ever bought the house, took Cook's to court and won, and couldn't believe that that ever happened in an agricultural area when you buy a house beside a feed mill, that you got to shut their operation down.
You're speaking Hansel, correct?
Yeah, I am.
And where did they take that case?
I don't know where the case was held.
They got a judge in London to make a ruling on it.
But we wouldn't
I
have any,
understand where you're going.
we wouldn't have any control over that. That's my concern. I do
Yeah,
have,
well,
I do have one suggestion before we take a motion, is that we ask Jay to comment to the firemen that council's received a report. Here's the concern, at least let him get some feedback from them. If they say, you know what, things are going pretty good right now, we don't wanna rock the boat, you know what, if that's the end of the world just to stop that, then let them make that call. If they come back and they're not in favor of that, then it's up to us to make a decision. But I'd say, why don't we talk to the firemen first? It's not hurting anything to talk to the firemen first.
that's called kicking the can down the road.
They were adamant,
Kicking it down the road.
Mr. Mayor, at a meeting that Councilor Chartrand and Mr. McRoberts and Mr. Redmond and myself attended.
Bob,
Adamant,
believe me, I got stopped in the grocery store multiple times.
yeah.
And it was quite often by wives of firemen. And that's why I also wondered at the time if it was, we're not happy about things, but this is something we can point to that you haven't taken care of. But at the end of the day, since the request for the motion was gonna be status quo, and if council doesn't do anything to shut anything down, we're not hurting anything by giving Jay time to just have a conversation with the fire departments. And if the answer is absolutely, we want to keep this thing, then council can still make the exact same decision, and we haven't done anything between now and then. Is that fair?
No. Because we're just gonna litigate this thing at this table for. Let's get another layer of bureaucracy in it. Okay, the firemen, I understand where you're coming from with that. It's been duly noted here. The firemen are fully in favor of the siren. Now, unless they've changed their mind,
And that's all I want to ask.
and I don't think they have changed their mind, it's been that long. Like, the point I'm trying to make is, this siren's been an issue for a long time, and at the end of the day, if it was going every day, every 2 or 3 hours, I get it, I get where it's irritating you. It mightn't go this week at all, other than Saturday at noon to just test it. So, I don't get it, and they all have their pagers and their phones as well anyways, and that all goes off all simultaneously. So, you're hoping I don't make this motion, is that what you're sort of saying, correct?
I'm saying you haven't lost anything if the motion happens in 2 weeks. Let's ask the firemen their comments first. I would say communication with the firemen is always gonna be a positive thing. If they come back and say, you know what, we want you to stand behind us and we wanna keep it, then council can make that decision at that point. If we got lucky and they said, you know what, things are working pretty good, it's probably not gonna be that big a deal if we don't use it, everybody be happy at the end of the day. Go ahead, Brenda.
I don't agree with Larry. I don't think a lot of people see the green flashing lights. And I think if you're on the main street and you hear that alarm, you stop and take note, and those firemen probably have a little better safe route to the fire hall. For the number of times it rains.
The numbers in the report, Mr. Mayor, was, in one case was less than once a week. And the other case was slightly over once a week. Was all that it rang.
Councilor Chartrand?
And the fact that it rarely goes off, being used to decibels on a great big plant, it's the continual running of that high decibel that can affect you. You know what I mean? If you're on, you would know in your business, if you're on a machine that's over 90 decibels, the whole 8 hours you're there, then they mandate hearing protection. In this case, the alarm might go off once a week or twice a week, and when it does go off, it's for a short period of time, so the decibels is not out there for a long, long, long time. So it makes no sense to me, and the reason why we decided to shut it down at night was for the people. And the fact that we want it to run during the day is because it's the busiest time of traffic is out on the road. So in my opinion, I don't think this report means anything to the harmful of the residents based on the fact that the decibels is only once in a while, not constant.
If that's the direction of council, that's fine. Make the motion and we vote on it. I'm just gonna be interested in the argument when you get to court and say, every other town that doesn't have a siren, how can you justify the fact that they're safe and you wouldn't be?
Well, we've been to court for smaller things.
Are you putting the motion on the floor tonight, sir?
On the status quo.
I move, I second.
Okay, moved by Counselor McGrath, second by Counselor Fisher, that we, I would like to word this politely, that we believe it is in the best interest of the community to keep the fire siren with its current hours of operation.
Very good.
Any final comments or questions? All those in favor of the motion? Motion carries. The next one is the refreshment vehicle bylaw.
Use the refreshment rating.
This is a request of council that needs to be brought back to review, length of permit price, enforcement fees, comparisons with what other municipalities have done. And what their permit prices are like, if it's per event or annually, instead of comparison with our municipalities that do have food truck bylaws or refreshment vehicle bylaws, it's provided as appendix A there. I also provided our current bylaws, so really just looking to direction from council of what they would like or any amendments they'd like to see to the bylaw.
When I read it, I guess I was a little surprised, especially with the comparison thing that went on. My personal opinion, I disagree with buying that permit for a whole year, whatever dollar value the permit has, because there's a restaurant that opened up here, Junction 8. Not sure if I'm allowed to mention places by name, but there's no doubt they suffer when the Freeze King is open. But those are still two property tax payers. And if you had a food cart that by buying one permit could come into town, whether it be just on weekends or every day of the year, because they bought a permit that lasted a whole year, to me, that does not seem equitable for the businesses that are here paying property taxes. So I did like the fact that when there was ones that said, whether it be just for the length of the event or 7 days or something like that, those to me made sense. Certainly didn't make any sense to have the fine less than the cost of the permit. Why would you get the permit? Because if you don't get caught, or if you do, you're paying less now anyways. Although it would probably prevent you from being able to get one in the future if that had happened. When I did compare the prices of the other ones, I would not be uncomfortable with dropping our permit cost down to a couple of $100 for the permit for just the event, or whether it be a 1 week period or whatever. but the fine still stay at $300. To me, that's what I got out of the report when I read it. I'm not sure how the rest of council thinks about it. Councilor McGrath.
I agree. I think, because some of these things, when they bring the refreshment card in, you gotta move a fair bit of product from up at that $200 to start with. So if you get too high up the ladder, and again, but per event, I agree with that. You don't want that thing to hang on for 12 months or even 7 days. You don't want to, because the events don't go on for 7 days, mostly a weekend. So it'd be like a 3-day, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. You got a 3-day event.
Any other comments of council? Councilor Fisher.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. I thought, it was okay the way it was or is, except for the fine being lower than the fee. Otherwise, I thought it was okay.
We can certainly vote on it. I'm gonna say I feel pretty comfortable right now. Let the record show Councilor McGrath agreed with me. Councilor Chartrand?
Yeah, I don't agree with having a permit that's valid for the whole year. I don't like that idea at all for the whole year.
The bottom line is that at the end of the day, we're just gonna have to vote on something. Unless there was something else that jumped out at anybody, I don't mind making the motion that the permit be, and I'll leave it up to the clerk to do the wordsmithing, but it either be for the length of the event or up to 1 week. Stated on the permit itself. And that permit costs $200, but leave the fine at $300. So that's my motion. I'm assuming Councilor McGrath is then seconding that. Are there any other comments or questions on this motion? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you. No, just a comment. It certainly leaves the door open if it's a worthwhile adventure or, like it's for the betterment of the community or betterment of somebody. They should have that opportunity to come to council and make a request if we can lower it or waive it. And that doesn't change that. So I think this is fair.
I need to go to Councilor Fisher, but I did want to respond to that. Thank you. Councilor Fisher.
Clarification, Mr. Mayor. So you're saying that if somebody wants to be here for the Santa Claus Parade and the Summer Fest and something else, they pay $600?
That would be correct. They would
Okay,
pay
just
per
clarification.
event. Yes.
Thank you.
Just to respond to, comment made by the deputy mayor, and I'm glad he made it. When I read through the definitions, some of them were ambiguous, I thought. When it talked about it could benefit the community. Because technically, you could be doing a fundraiser for something in Huron County and say, well, it's for the benefit of Huron County and Huron East part of Huron County, so I shouldn't have to pay the fee. And I'm asking for the clarification because maybe I didn't understand it. Those looked like avenues to not have to get it, but would you have to apply to not get it still? Was that the intent? Or were you already able to make those statements or declare those statements and not have to get the permit or not have to pay the fee?
So the only way they would not pay the fee is on council approval.
Okay.
So before they would submit an application, they would submit something to council requesting that the fee to be waived. By community, that means Huron East community. So it's somebody, like I think when we originally talked about it, it was some of these organizations like the BIA and other ones that do bring the money back into the community, that they would get their fees waived. So that was kind of the basis of that. So they would have that opportunity to request that fee being waived prior to an application being submitted. Then it's up to their decision if they still want to submit an application and pay the $200.
Your interpretation was absolutely correct. Okay. Go
I'd
ahead.
like to have a follow-up then. So, for instance, if local, in summertime, there's soccer games at the Brussels Arena, etc. There used to be a young lady that, I'm talking, she's 10 years old. She used to bike around selling ice cream cones or ice cream sandwiches and stuff like that on a weekly basis.
Right, so the bicycle carts are in there just to follow some practices of some other municipalities for insurance and things like that on those pieces. So we have refrigerated bicycle carts and we put like a minimum age of 16 just to sell and do a business. So that's what we put that in there for. I mean, that could be removed, it could be subject to council.
I'm just saying if that were to take place, you know, could she be fined for that, or does she need a permit every week? to do
If there
that?
was a complaint, but based on this, if she's gonna be getting a permit, she would have to get a permit every week.
Yeah, yeah.
Sell a lot of ice cream.
You have to sell a lot of popsicles.
Yeah.
For
Look
50.
at my granddaughter's lemonade stand, Jessica.
No, no.
But in fairness, certainly not in this bylaw, and those are very valid questions, because I wasn't aware of the situation. I certainly never thought of the lemonade stand. I've seen other bylaws where it talked about having, age limits.
Mhm.
Where if you're 10 years old selling at a lemonade stand, as an example, is something that never gets bothered with.
Yeah.
I don't know how you address that.
It's just,
I,
you open up a can and,
Actually, public work or public health gets involved in that too.
yeah.
That's what deal.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. It's no different than, like garage sale days. She'll have 2 or 3 different places selling cookies and lemonade and whatnot. Is that gonna, are they gonna be nailed for that too?
the intent of this bylaw is not to go to that microscopic level of somebody just selling ice cream or things like that. I
But
think when it
where is
talks about
the-
refrigerated bicycles, I'm gonna age myself, but the old Dickie D service that used to be around, where you have 5 or 10 of them going around, and it's more of a company, that's more of that refrigerated bicycle. I mean, to me, this thing falls under things like community barbecues and things like that are not covered in this bylaw. Those are just small events. They're not a big vendor coming to pay a fee.
So
to
what
do an
happens
event.
when the kids with the ice cream cart say, hey, Jessica down there at the corner selling cookies and lemonade, and she doesn't need a permit, but
And
I do.
what I'm saying, I don't think somebody 10 years old going to the baseball diamonds would require a permit either, is what I'm trying to say, because they're no different than the person selling. It's if an organization comes in and they are a company selling at the ice cream truck that comes around all the time, or pedal bike ice creams, which I guess I don't know if they still exist, but they did. You have 5 grown-ups going around selling ice cream to all the neighborhoods, then maybe that would be where it puts in there, but. That seems like-
Yeah, I forget the wording. It actually talked about food trucks.
That's the big thing.
That's what I mean, this
So
isn't.
whether you're selling
minor.
lemonade or cookies off your front lawn, that's not the same. It did talk about the bicycles. I need to ask the process, so typically, I'm assuming that if in fact I was mad at the little girl and I wanted to get her in trouble, I would not call the bylaw officer directly. You would contact town hall, and then the documentation would be filled out and the information would go to the bylaw officer?
Yes, you'd still submit a complaint like you normally would for any other bylaw or any type of complaint with the municipality. So whether it's online, contacting town hall, bylaw officer goes out. So I mean, the likelihood of that happen, we could just remove refrigerated bicycles too from the bylaw to keep it simpler and more focused on those bigger food trucks.
I
Councilor
think the
Sharp?
original intent was these big food trucks. That was the original intent, that someone doesn't come on Main Street for a year and start selling food. That was the main one. I don't think the refrigerated little bicycle cart should even be in that bylaw.
And that's fine. Council can make that call right now. And if it becomes an issue in the future,
Then you can
you
always add
can
it.
update the bylaw.
Yeah. So I would make motion that we take that right out of there.
Okay, then I have one other thing. And this is from my own experience. I had a company that, had us build a prototype for them. Their head office out of the States wanted us to sign a signature that, or have insurance for $5 million on it, which is listed in this bylaw. I told them, I said, I'm probably the only guy that can do what you want me to do. My normal policy for my company was $2 million. They said, I'm not going out to take another policy to add it up to 5 million. I said, either you want it or you don't. I'm good either way. And they came back and said, we'll absolutely just go ahead. Didn't have to worry about 5 million. that seems, now I understand the municipalities trying to protect themselves, but 5 million seems excessive for a guy selling hot dogs on the side of the road.
And again, this doesn't cover hot dog stands either or barbecues, I didn't
No,
think we
but-
were that
but-
high, I
but-
thought we were around 2 million, but.
It said 5 in here. But that hot dog truck out of Goddard's, like, that man sold a lot of hot dogs over the years, I know, because I bought a lot. But, even to ask him to come with a $5 million insurance policy seemed excessive.
There again, you have to sell a lot of hot dogs to cover that insurance policy.
And I don't know what the difference is in a policy between 2 and 5. I didn't even bother to look it up. I would recommend we turn that one to 2 unless there's a problem.
And that might be fine. I think we probably ask our policies to address brokers for their advice, and that's what.
Yeah.
Should be
Okay,
there.
and that's a good idea, because tonight we're giving the suggestions back to staff, and the policy is gonna come back to us after the changes are made, so we don't have to have every answer tonight. Is there anything else that we would like to see addressed at this point? Seeing none, then, so can I get a mover and a seconder? And this is, it's gonna read that the council of the municipality of Huron East directs staff to bring back an amended bylaw for review. Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor Fisher. All those in favor? And motion carries. The third quarter financial variance reports. Are there any questions of staff on that? Or sorry, any questions to staff on that? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There was 2 on there. Stacy, please, the federal government and the provincial government, was many millions of dollars difference between this year and last year. It was brought to my attention, we got 3 million from somebody last year and 100,000 this year, and then $1 million, and then a small amount on the other one, whether it be it provincial or federal. Is that just a time of the year thing, or was there a grant that I missed somewhere?
Which year were you looking at, provincial or federal or both?
Both, there were significant differences.
Okay, so for federal, we got ICIP last year. That's for the arena, and we got provincial ICIP last year for the arena. The federal for the arena last year.
Okay,
Brussels
okay,
Arena.
good.
Yeah, so that's project related. We still have some more ICPI to get, ICIP that we're applying for now for the completion of the project, but it's not near this amount.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Deputy Mayor.
Yeah, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Thank you to Stacy. Stacy, too, on the radio lately too. I think some of the municipalities around us have been getting additional funding. I've heard. I don't know whether that was an ICIP fund or not. I just wondered, do you know of anything yet? I'm sorry to blindside you with that, but I do know it's been on the radio a lot. And I didn't know if you'd heard of anything or that might still be coming.
Additional funding from normal funding streams? or
Yes, from what I understood, yes.
I haven't heard anything from any of our funding streams.
Go ahead, Brett. I heard the same, radio broadcast, that kind of, we got money. It's the money that we always get through the provincial funding program for all our road infrastructure work. We get it every year. So it's not like an additional amount of money. It's just sort of the regular funding that we always get.
Cause it sounded like, speaking of her, they got additional funds. They had the amount, the additional funds, and I don't have them in front of me, but I know a couple, I think either Listo or Stratford got like $1 million or so. Some of the other smaller ones got 100.
I can't remember the actual ones.
So we know what we're getting additionally, like for next year.
It's just the announcement what we got for the transportation budget. That's the ICIP. Is that the ICIP or is that?
No, you're talking about OSIP and,
OSIP, that's it. Thank you. It's the OSIP funding.
yeah.
Okay.
Which we always get, and
Right.
and I think the amount was just slightly more than what we got last year, so it's not huge for us.
Well, if I could find it again, I'd bring it in for it because it certainly sounded like additional huge additional funding, is what it sounded
I
like.
did look it up.
I think it was tagged on the upfront. I saw that too.
I actually went on the news site to find the actual news article to read it, and then I found the numbers. Their provincial website, they kind of, so.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it's really fun.
I was wishful hopeful, that'd be great, but
Okay. That's what we're trying to get increased.
Yes.
We
Okay,
found it,
go ahead.
we found it, it's additional funding for OMPF, so that's our normal municipal funding that they're bringing it over the next 2 years for 2025 and 2026. So that's funding that's determined by them for what we're gonna get. I'm just looking at the news.
yeah, it was a different announcement on the radio though. It was the, what'd you call it again?
The OSIP,
OSIP, yeah,
not the OMPF,
not the OMPF.
okay.
Yeah, we got the actual letters yesterday up from the OMPF, but the other one was about the OSIP.
Sorry.
Diane?
The provincial government recently announced the funding would be getting an increase of 100 million over the next 2 years. That's a little bit of cash.
Well, that is because I believe it was about 500 million that got cut out, that got us back to where we are now. And I can't remember how much we've lost in funding since it was at its peak, to where we are now,
It says it'll be totaling over 600 million.
which
Which one?
if it was equitable across the board, that should be a 20% increase.
Get back what we lost.
Yeah, now, I think you might get back a little bit more, or maybe those adjustments have already been made, but I know when the funding originally got cut, there were non-rural areas that were still getting funding, and it took the government a few years before they got that. I know ours fluctuated up and down a little bit, not great amounts, but it did fluctuate up and down a little bit as they were trying to figure out those adjustments throughout the province. Okay, so, that report was just for, information purposes. The next is, 12.5 Brussels batting cage agreement. So I'm gonna ask for a mover and a seconder. I'll read the motion and then we'll see if we have any questions. Moved by, Councillor Morrison, second by Councillor, Fisher, that the Council of the Municipality of Huron East accept the prepared agreements regarding ownership and community usage of the batting cages located at the Brussels Optimus Park. Did anybody have any concerns or questions about what they saw in those agreements? Deputy Mayor?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, through you to Lisa. Thank you, Lisa, for the report. On page 150, down near the bottom, it says, as a municipal asset, all financial transactions will be processed through the municipality. Does that mean if somebody wanted to donate? Is that what you mean by that? Or if they raise funds too?
That they make the donation to the municipality, and the municipality is building the structure.
Thank you.
Any other questions? All those in favor? And motion carries. 12.6, the HR 24-03 Workplace Violence and Harassment Policy Review and Removal of Employee Personnel Computer Purchase Program. Apparently, we're not using it anyways. Can I get a mover and a seconder for the policy as it was presented? Moved by Councillor Deal, second by Deputy Mayor, that the Council of the Municipality of Huron East approve the Workplace Violence and Harassment Policy and the removal of the Employee Personal Computer Purchase Program as outlined in report HR 24-03. Any comments or questions on the policy as it was presented? All those in favor? Motion carries. And we are back to the community brand. So the motion will read that the Council of the Municipality of Huron East adopt the new Huron East community brand, tagline, to and logo concept. And the question will be whether we want to go with A or C. Welcome, Carolyn.
Thank you. So I'm not gonna spend too much time on, the different logos that we saw on the brand, because Andrea did a really good job of explaining it. So I just wanted to maybe just explain a little bit about, the process, and we did try to involve as many residents as we could in this process, so we did have a community survey that was open. And we received 118 responses from that survey. We did in-depth interviews as well with 5 community stakeholders. And also we ran a focus group, which we invited 10 people to attend that focus group as well from different sectors and different communities across Huron East. So we did try and give as many opportunities as we could for community input. And Cinnamon Toast did a really great job of listening to our community and listening to how they felt about Huron East and the direction Huron East was going in as well. So, so yeah, the logo concepts are more of the visual piece of the brand. So that's kind of what is kind of the exciting part, I guess, of the brand and what people talk about. So we had 3 concepts. Concept B received very, very few votes. So we have concept A and concept C that we're looking at. So I know staff, we like both. So we're just looking for some direction from council.
And at this point, someone needs to make a motion to pick one of them, and either we accept it or we don't. Councilor Morrison.
It was advertised that the public votes to select one option. Option C had 50%, A had 47. Let's go with option C. It had the public selected the vote.
Okay, we have a mover. This is how we get started. Second by Councilor Newell. Any comments before we take the vote? Oh, Councilor Deal.
Which, did you say?
The last one.
C?
Yeah, the circle one.
I'm just, they're listed differently in your graph, so.
Yes, I
I'm just
apologize.
making sure everybody knows which letter they're picking.
We had a little bit of confusion because when Cinnamon Toast presented, it was A and B as the top 2 logo concepts, but in the original, we were looking at 3 concepts. So that's where the confusion was, but logo A is more of the linear with the heritage building. And concept C is the wheel and the kind of the vine that swoops underneath the wheel. Concept B is the historic buildings kind of in the middle, and a lot of straight lines in that concept as well. So, so we're looking at, those 2 right there.
All right, go ahead, Ray.
Yeah, my only comment, as I said before, I understand that 50% of the people picked that one. When I look at that one, I don't see Huron East. When I look at the first one with town hall and agriculture, I see Huron East. That's just my opinion. And I'm not in favor of them. I'm not in favor of this motion for the smaller one.
We all probably should have taken the survey too. And I know that I got asked and I gave an answer, but it didn't get entered, so. That's our own fault for not hitting the deadline.
It's tough because it's very subjective, right? So it is. But hopefully the descriptions that were provided give you kind of an idea of what each represents, right?
Anyways, we're just gonna take a vote and it either passes or it doesn't. So all those in favor of the motion, which is picking option C. Okay, and opposed? Okay. I need another motion. Councilor Chartrand.
I make a motion to pick, I guess, A, is that?
Yeah.
A?
Yeah. And second by, Councilor McGrath. Any other comments or questions before we call the vote? All those in favor? We've got 4. That doesn't even cut it.
You didn't vote for the question.
I ain't seen it, so I ain't voting.
That's a fair point,
That's the bottom line.
Good point. I thought maybe Sandy might have said something.
He was torn on either one, to be honest with you.
Did I miscount? I thought there was 3 opposed, or 3 had voted for the first one and 4 had voted for the second one. We've got 10 people sitting on the table.
Took me out, so you got 9.
No, I didn't vote.
Oh, you didn't vote?
I didn't because honestly, I'm not inspired by any of them. And unfortunately, unfortunately, I think back to when we picked the first one.
Mhm.
So I do, like, there was a lot of work went into that. And when I still see here in East, that's what I see.
Yeah, this,
It jumps off, and I know it's a difficult thing to do away with, so I'm sorry, that's where I'm at.
I pulled the pin out tonight just to look at it, because I kind of thought the same thing. I thought, well, what was wrong with the first one? But the one thing that I did like about the new one over the old one, was we got rid of listing the 5 wards. It's Huron East now. We're not listing 5 wards. That was the one thing that I considered to be a major improvement.
so it was only 3 for C and 4 for A.
Yes, but that still doesn't pass. Go ahead, Brett.
Yeah, I think we're all getting caught up on the logo. I know it's something we're not supposed
yeah.
to use. But we have to also think about, there's a whole concept for the branding, the messaging, right? So you got 2 really good options here that have been selected by the community. You know, and I think you guys need to pick one or the other. You know, we've invested a lot of money. There's a lot of other money that's hinging on this to move forward. So I think it's kind of, we're too far down the path to start saying, let's keep the lead. I think we've already made that through our strategic plan process and the work that we've done so far. So I don't know, if we just put something back out there again or try another vote. I don't know.
I agree with the deputy mayor. When I first look at it, does it state Huron East to me? No. But when I looked at A, I could recognize, first of all,
Exactly.
basically the plan of town hall, farmland, and the natural environment. So that's why that was better for me. Councillor Deal?
Honestly, I think they're too simplistic. They just, as Deputy Mayor has said, it just doesn't jump off the page. It doesn't. Even if we were to take the old brand and take the different wards off of it, if that's what people wanted, but I just find that these are very stick figures.
And I will go to you next, Brenda. I don't disagree with you, and I'm not a logo specialist by any means. But boy, Nike made a lot of money off a check mark. Amazon makes a lot of money off one swoosh. Councillor Deal, or Dalton, sorry. The other.
Yeah, I was thinking for a minute, but the comment I thought was that they would like to have seen the old original logo in on this, just to see what the thought is of the new one. There were a lot of people that did like the original logo. And they said maybe if it had been in here, it would have been good to see it.
Go ahead, Carolyn.
So the reason why I think this came up in our strategic plan is there's a few problematic areas, I think, with our current logo. The one is that it does have the former wards on it. We're trying to get away from that. It also wasn't accessible, because the wording was too small actually on the logo for people to read. And so when you scale it, I know Cinnamon Toast had brought that up about scaling it. So when we scale it smaller, the words get lost, right? So that's kind of why we're trying to move away from that. And also, we've heard a lot of comments in the community about, but we're more than agriculture, you know? When we look at that logo, it's a barn and fields, that's all they see, right? Whereas these new concepts incorporate more than that, right? Like, I look at concept A, and I know they talked about the plants in the middle, representing agriculture, but to me, it represents more than that. Like, I see growth, right? Growth across industries, right? I mean, it doesn't have to be agriculture, right? And with C, the same with the wheel that's in there. I don't just see agriculture, I see moving forward, right? Moving forward as a community, not necessarily related to agriculture. So that's just kind of my take on them. I don't have a preference, like I like A and C, so I don't have a specific preference.
Just procedurally, we've already voted to do the rebranding, so this is a decision already made. We can't go back
Right.
and say, no, we don't want to do it. So just procedurally, and as well as, for members not voting, it is in our procedural bylaw that everybody must vote yay or nay. So we just can't decline from voting unless you have a pecuniary interest. So We do have to vote one way or the other.
So I could call you out on a recorded vote.
You certainly could. I just want to be honest.
No, and that's fair.
No, that's fair.
And I had the same thought earlier, that's why I pulled it in, but I do agree, we need to do something. I do have one concern procedurally also. Is that, how do you bring something back up when it's been turned down?
To me, because not everybody voted in those votes,
That's right.
they're not, we can go back to them because they're not a valid vote. There was,
But if they vote the same,
but you didn't have people voting. So in the first one, we had 3 in favor, but when we asked opposed, I guess everybody raised, so that one was legit. But when we asked again, we only had 4 in favor, so people aren't voting, right? We need to have.
Okay.
I will put my motion. Again, the public voted for C at 50 versus 47. So I would say that we choose concept C, and I'll put the motion back out there.
Okay,
And let's have it be a recording vote.
okay. Are you gonna second that, Councilor Newell?
Yes, I will.
Okay. All right. Bob, I don't know if you want to draw one out of a hat or if you want to phone Sandy. and get
I've
a
drawn,
second
Mr.
opinion.
Mayor, I've drawn, thank you.
Okay. At this point, a recorded vote has been requested, so I will turn it over to the clerk.
This is the vote for C? Is that what you're saying?
This was for C.
The wheel one.
The wheel.
And I will start with Councillor Morrison as the requested voter. Yay, you are in favor as a motion with option C. Nay, you are opposed to option C.
Yay.
Councillor Chartrand,
Nay.
Councillor Dalton,
Nay.
Councillor Deal,
nay.
Councillor Fisher,
Nay.
Mayor McMillan,
No.
Councillor McGrath,
No.
Deputy Mayor McMillan,
Yes.
Councillor Newell,
Yes.
Councillor Stefler is absent, and Councillor Wilby.
Nay.
7 nays.
Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 nays, and 1, 2 in favor, 3 in favor, sorry.
7-3, okay, so that one failed, I do need a motion.
I'll make my motion. We make my motion to accept logo A.
Okay. And second by Councillor Wilby.
I don't need a recorded vote.
Well, that way you get everybody to vote.
Well, if that's the case, then recorded vote.
Sorry, just give me 1 second. And so this is the opposite. We are now voting for logo concept A. Yay is in favor of option A, nay is opposed. Councillor Chartrand,
Yay.
Councillor Fisher,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor McClellan,
No.
Mayor McClellan,
Yes.
Councillor Dalton,
Yes.
Councillor Deal,
No.
Councillor Wilby,
Yes.
Councillor Newell,
No.
Councillor Stefler is absent. Councillor Morrison,
No.
and Councillor McGrath.
Yes.
We have a winner.
3, 4, 5. Sorry, my nays or yays are looking very similar right now.
All right, 6-4.
5, 6, yes. Sorry about that.
I can keep track of 10 numbers.
This is.
I like that.
Yeah, that was controversial.
Like that, I like this image.
Anything else comes
Okay, we are past that. I presume, Carolyn, you're doing the next report? Okay. Go ahead.
Yeah, so, this past year, we applied to the RTO4 for, phase 1 of our wayfinding signage program. and we were successful, so we're just completing that. We've actually been just waiting on the final logo design to finish up those signs. So we have the opportunity to apply in 2020 for 2025 RTO4 funding for phase 2 of our wayfinding signage program. So phase 2 includes directional signage, and there's also opportunity to maybe include some park and trail signage as well with that.
Any questions at this point? Maybe this is more discussion. When I was reading through this and I saw your signs and stuff, when you talk about parks and trails, those make a lot of sense to me, to have signage for stuff like that. With Wayfair signing, how much of it is as crucial? Because, you know, we all used to use a map and it was important, but now half the time we don't even know where we are because our phone got us there and that was fine. We didn't really care. How important is it spending the money on all these types of signs, or are there just certain ones that just make more sense? Like parks and trails and stuff like that, that makes a lot of sense to me, because that's not usually something you type in as commonly when you're looking up something on GPS.
Yeah. So I've had experience doing wayfinding signage in another community as well. And directional signage especially, we got really, really positive feedback around directional signage, because directional signage are your signs within your settlement boundaries that direct you to community facilities. So your arena, your curling rink, right?
Yeah.
Your parks. And we got a lot of comments from people that drove through the communities on a regular basis that had no idea that there were certain facilities in those communities until they saw the signs, right? So I'm just thinking for a community like Seaforth, if you were driving from Brussels through Seaforth, you know, headed London way, you probably, if you're not familiar with the community, you wouldn't know that we had a splash pad, right? And that might be a family of young kids looking for a place to stop. And now they see, oh, there's a splash pad in town, we'll stop. So that's kind of the advantage I see with directional signage. And with that, when visitors are introduced to those new areas to stop, you're keeping people longer in your community. So the potential for them spending money in your community is a lot greater, right, when you're keeping them here longer. Phase 1 includes our community entrance signs and our municipal entrance signs. That's what we're doing right now. We don't currently have municipal entrance signs. Most municipalities do. So when you enter in Huron East, you have no idea that you're in Huron East. And we wanted the community entrance signs to match those municipal entrance signs, right? Because then there's that consistency, right? When you're driving through a community, you just have a sense of where you are, right? So that's how I see, you know, the importance of signage. And then eventually, yeah, doing our parks or our trails and our parks, right? With the similar looking signs with the header that'll say Huron East. It's just a consistent signage program. And we are following the Huron County signage program. So it's the intent that Huron County will be consistent with their signage, right? So the header piece will change depending on the municipality that you're in, because that is branded to each municipality. But the other parts of the sign will be consistent in colors and font and that kind of thing.
Good answer.
Makes sense.
Any other questions of members of council? Okay, can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Chartrand. That the council of the municipality of Huron East support the application to the Regional Tourism Organization, RTO, for partnership funding program for phase 2 of the Huron East Wayfinding Signage Program. All those in favor? And motion carries. Under correspondence, we have the Seaforth Lions Santa Claus Parade Committee, the road closure request. Can I get a mover and a seconder, please? Moved by Councilor Fisher, the Deputy Mayor, that the council of the municipality of Huron East temporarily close a portion of Main Street and Duke Street, Seaforth on November 22nd, 2024 from 6:30 p.m. to 8:30 p.m. All those in favor? Motion carries.
Under council reports, I will first go to the deputy mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. So our last county council meeting, Councillor Harding from Howick, he brought forward some information requesting, I believe they're gonna send out a resolution to everybody in Huron County. Just the fact that their OPP costs went up 21% year over year. So around the table, everybody was sort of giving their own stories of getting the same sort of shock. There was a report from the emergency services, Jeff Horstman, and it was, the report was around generators that are in the Huron County ambulance station. Currently, right now, there's only 3 stations with generators in. So I think they're gonna be bringing something forward to maybe get that included in future budgets to either put some in and also maintenance moving forward as well. The Director of Public Works, he brought forward a report on Maine's Corners. Anybody that doesn't know where Maine's Corners is, it's a intersection back in the northeast corner of Huron County, Howick Township. And I believe it's North Perth, I think. It's a very bad intersection. There's been lots of work done there, signs, etc., flashing lights, and there still seems to be a very bad accident. So they're gonna, I believe, kind of work with North Perth or Perth County in general to see if they can come up with some solutions there to maybe help out there. We did purchase a new road grader. It was $563,000. That was it for Montana. I think that's everything I had from Huron County. When I'm talking, I'm just going to mention that I attended the Huron County Federation of Agriculture general meeting last Friday night. It was a very good night, good meal. We had a guest speaker there from the University of Guelph. She spoke about planning and how some of the issues now that we're dealing with growth around some of our villages was actually planning that was done back in the 70s and 80s. So she said you may not have realized it, but some of the planning was done then. Our director for Huron East is a gentleman called Sean O'Rourke, and the Huron County Federation of Agriculture Outstanding Contribution to Agriculture annual award went to Neil Benson and his wife Joan Benson as well. So they're quite involved in agriculture. So they got that award. So I think that's everything I have right now.
Okay, thank you very much for that. And I gotta say thank you to the clerk because at our last council meeting, you gave a very good explanation of how we ended up with these increased costs of the OPP scenario. Oh, was it Stacy? I apologize, Stacy. Anyways, I was able to share that the next morning when it was raised at county council, that information. I wasn't sure who all had possibly got that explanation, but it went over well knowing how we got to that stage. So it was good. Thank you very much for informing us of that. Next I have other boards, committees, meetings, or seminars. Does anybody have anything? Councillor Wilby.
So I'm gonna talk about the R2R conference. Brenda, Bob, Tara Lynn, and myself attended the conference from the 16th to the 18th at the Blythe Memorial Hall. They had a really good artwork display in the lower hall, and we were welcomed by Austin Silversmith of the Cayuga Nation Wolf Clan, and he offered the Thanksgiving address. Which isn't about Thanksgiving, it's about sustaining life and providing nourishment. I had trouble hearing the keynote speaker. I read what she said in the Citizen, and I was impressed by what she said in the Citizen, but she had a mask on, and I think all of us had trouble hearing her. The second day, we went for a walk on the G2G trail. I think everybody enjoyed it. There was an Indigenous couple there, Ken and Allie, I believe their names were. And she did a spiritually moving song, which we all held hands and joined in on. And then there was a rope exercise back at the hall. There was a girl there from Scotland and a girl there from Ireland, and they led us through different exercises, and they had a visual board on the wall that they added to every day. Friday was the most productive, I thought, because local people like Vicki Lass and Tara Lynn and other, groups like, the Gateway people and, another one here. Huron Business Center, they had different stations that you could go to and see what their plans were for the future. I have some checklists for people who, are preparing for a farm transition. So I've brought some of those along with me. And, there's links to podcasts if farmers are interested in them. And the meals were excellent and they were provided by 3 local residents. So that was that 3-day conference. And then I went on Saturday to the Huron County Cultural Summit 2024 at the historical elevating arts, culture, and heritage in Huron County. And I was so impressed. I couldn't believe I got so much out of this day. They had excellent presenters. Some of them were Gil Garrett from the Blythe Festival, Sinead Cox, an engagement and dialogue from the Huron County Museum. Pamela Stanley was a volunteer. She talked about the RCAF and the Venastra revitalization. Marion Terpstra talked about her farm project for weddings. Then we had Jennifer Miltenberg from the Kingsbridge Center. The fellow that we had here at council, Mark Noakes, a local immigration partnership. Derry Wallace, climate change. Angela Smith had a really excellent presentation. There's murals all over Clinton, and if you have the right app, which we all downloaded, and you hold them up to the mural, they come alive. I had one on my phone, and when I looked for it, I thought I could, just show you after council, but it's disappeared. So it must be something that you have to have.
Time sensitive.
Yeah, it must be time sensitive. And then we had, Shannon Rose Scott did a sound healing, presentation. And, so yeah, I thought it was a really excellent day and I'm glad I went. So, that's my 2 reports.
All right, thank you very much for those. Are there any requests by members of council this time? Are there any notices of motion? And are there any announcements? Deputy Mayor.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. 2 things I have. Agriculture Wellness Ontario is hosting a Guardian Training Network. I took this a couple years ago. This is free suicide prevention training for the Agricultural Committee. It's a very worthwhile session if you can take it. It runs from 9 till 4. It's totally free. There's going to be a lunch there as well. On November the 13th, I might in fact just send this to Jessica and see if she would send it out to everybody. It's worthwhile training if you can take the time to do it. It's really opens your eyes and maybe you can save somebody someday as well. So, and my other follow-up is that we had our annual Ethel Turkey Supper on this past Sunday night. I don't have any numbers in yet, other than we served about 300 people. So, Councillor Fisher said it was good, so. Did you go, Brad? I'm sorry, I didn't make it up to see if you were there.
Yeah, that was very good.
Oh, good. Excellent. Thank you very much.
I already sent my compliments to the chef.
Delegations to Rural Ontario Municipal Association Conference. There was discussion about whether we should be doing something. Are there any requests, any delegations that we should be putting forward? Councillor Fisher.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. First of all, the long-term care lady, we should go see, I think. And municipal affairs to brag about how many houses we have built and will be building and ask them for $20 million for upgrades to our water and sewer infrastructure. And should we lobby, Minister Harper. Or Thompson, I get that, there's another Lisa I know. Minister Thompson, about, those two as well. And anything else we can think of that's pertinent?
Did I see another hand up also?
I was gonna talk about the long-term care, but Bob's already, mentioned it.
Okay. That's all we need to do at this point. When is the notice to have that in?
Seven, I think.
Yep, that was in the AMO brief last week, November 27th, Mr. Mayor.
But we don't get an answer until 2 weeks before the conference.
Sometimes it's sooner, it seems later that they're due this time. But, considering that the conference is in January.
Right.
So we only have 2 months, so I would predict that they get back to us before Christmas. Typically do get back to us reasonable. So.
Okay. Okay.
Certainly put it in, since you guys have given to me already, I'll put the request in.
Excuse me, Mr. Mayor.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead, Dan.
Just a quick request, from the Cranbrook Hall. They were looking at getting some work done on the parking lot. And they were just wondering if it was going to be coming up soon, and I'm not sure whether this is the time or place. They've had a couple of, cancellations due to the rough ground and unaccessible pathway to the door. I guess that'd be to Lisa.
Yeah, at least, I can speak to it a little bit, Lisa, at least I did talk about it, she did bring it to me too, about where we'll go with it, and so I think Lisa and I and Barry will try to coordinate and figure out if there's a solution we can put forward.
Thank you.
Was there anything else?
No, that's good, thank you.
Okay. Oh, and for the Remembrance Day events, I can do the pencil one on the 11th of November in the morning. We still have an opening for Seaforth and Brussels. Now, Brussels, we've got 2 representatives here. Is either one of you available?
Yep.
Okay, that's fine. Unless you're fighting over it. Okay. That's good, Jeff. I appreciate that. You probably have to either contact Jessica or, is it the Legion they contact?
It's the Brussels Legion that coordinates all this.
Okay, all right, good. Do we supply the wreath or they
We
do
have
what we
already
pay them?
purchased wreaths through them, so they have the wreaths.
Perfect, okay, all right, thank you. Now, I think in the past, Counselor Steffler did do Seaforth for me. And I can't be in 2 places at once. Are you comfortable doing it, Counselor Fisher, or do you want us to try and contact?
I think it would be awkward, Mr. Mayor,
Yeah.
thank you.
Okay, and I understand that. Do we, oh, go ahead, Gloria.
I did it last year.
Oh, it was you that did it? Okay. I guess the bottom line is, we want a representative there. It doesn't matter which municipality you live in or which ward you live in. Is anybody else willing to do the Seaforth Reef Lane? You're willing to do it again? Thank you very much.
I'm in the
Appreciate
color
that.
party at the Legion, so I'll be tied up.
Yeah, okay. No, that gives us the 3 people that we need. That's good. Next, we have bylaws. Can I get a mover and a seconder for bylaw 87, please? Moved by Councillor Fisher, second by Councillor Wilby, that be it hereby resolved that bylaw 87 of 2024, a bylaw to amend bylaw 31 of 2022 to reflect the actual cost of the 14th concession municipal drain, be given first, second, third, and final readings, and signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All those in favor? And motion carries. Mover and seconder for bylaw 88, moved by Councillor Deal, second by Councillor Morrison, that be it hereby resolved that bylaw 88 of 2024, a bylaw to amend bylaw 14 of 2024 to reflect the actual cost of the Carter's H municipal drain, be given first, second, third, and final readings, and signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed thereto. All those in favor? And motion carries. Mover and a seconder for bylaw 89, Counselor Deal, and Deputy Mayor, that be it hereby resolved that bylaw 89 of 2024, a bylaw to provide drainage works on the Brewer Municipal Drain be given first, second, third, and final readings and signed by the mayor and the clerk.
Sorry, just a minor amendment. It's just first and second readings for this one.
Because we didn't get an agreement. Okay.
For the Drainage Act, we can only get first and second at this point.
Yeah, we didn't do a revision. No. Yeah. Okay. All those in favor? Motion carries. Bylaw, mover and seconder for bylaw 90. Councillor Newell and Deputy Mayor, that be it hereby resolved, the bylaw 90 of 2024, a bylaw to provide drainage works on the Holland Anderson Municipal Drain be given first and second readings and signed by the mayor and the clerk. All those in favor? Carried. That bylaw 91, mover and seconder, Councillor Morrison and Councillor Dalton. That be it hereby resolved that bylaw 91 of 2024, a bylaw to temporarily close a portion of Duke Street and Main Street within the Seaforth Ward, begin first, second, third, and final readings, signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed to. All those in favor? And motion carries. And a mover and a seconder for the confirmatory bylaw, moved by Councillor Deal and second by Councillor Chartrand. That be it hereby resolved that bylaw 92 of 2024, a bylaw to confirm the proceedings of the council begin first, second, third, and final readings, and signed by the mayor and the clerk, and the seal of the corporation be affixed to. All those in favor? And motion carries. And a mover and a seconder to adjourn. Moved by Councillor Chartrand, second by Councillor Fisher. That the time now being 8:23 PM. The regular meeting do now adjourn until November 19th of 2024 at 6 PM. All those